The Fishin' Magazine television series is brought to you by Ranger Boats. Still building them one at a time so you can fish hard, run strong, and rest easy. Bass Pro Shops. Quantum and Motor Guide, the choice of serious fishermen. L&L Marine Care products. Take the chore out of marine maintenance. Fishing hotspots. Maps so good, people ask for them by name. Pinpoint Network Fishing Systems. Daylight Corporation. The Fishing Hole in St. Louis, Missouri, and Central Pro-Am Association, the leader in Pro-Am bass tournaments.
Welcome to the Fishin' Magazine television series. It's stop number 5 on Central Pro-Am's 1999 qualifying Pro-Am bass tournament trail. We're on Grand Lake of the Cherokees in northeast Oklahoma. You know, our anglers really enjoy visiting Grand Lake, and we hope you enjoy today's show. We'll be right back after these messages.
Eric Holt believes that will give Pro-Am anglers plenty of ways to catch fish.
There's going to be 3 primary patterns in this tournament, I think. One's going to be fishing the docks, as always. One's going to be flipping the willow trees, because we have a lot of willow still in the water. And some of the guys are going to catch fish out on structure, 15 to 20 foot deep cranking or Carolina rigging. The area I'm fishing, the fish are holding in about 7 to 8 feet, and if the lake drops, I'm going to be all right if it only drops a foot or 2. The main thing I'm worried about, we have a cold front coming through tonight. It's going to change the wind direction, and I need a little wind on my pattern to make it work. And if the wind changes to the north like they're calling for, I'm going to have to scramble around a little bit tomorrow.
The morning of day 1 brings just what the weatherman had predicted, a summer cold front with wind from the north. The cool rain provides a welcome relief from the sweltering heat, but what it will do to the fishing remains to be seen. Eric Holt starts the day in Horse Creek, and the weather has affected his fish just as he feared. The spots where he caught fish in practice simply aren't producing today. Finally, the rain stops, and shortly after, Holt gets a strike. Quickly, he reels the bass in, but as he is, he sees a 5-pounder dart out from cover. Those are the fish Holt needs to catch, if he can just figure out a way to get them to bite. Oklahoman Roger Dial won the Table Rock Pro-Am the previous month and set a Central Pro-Am tournament record of nearly 48 pounds, pitching a jig to flooded willows. So the conditions at Grand seemed tailor-made for him. Dial thought so too, but today the bites are few and far between. After his record-setting performance, you'd think he'd get more respect from the bass, wouldn't you? But that's why they call it fishing. John Kramer is up the Elk River working a jig along an old pipeline, and so far it's paying off. He's already landed 1 big fish, and he's hopeful he can keep rolling. Kramer finished 8th at Grand in 1998, and this year he'd like nothing better than to come in with a limit good enough to put him in position to win. David Bailey is working a flooded backwater area near Sailboat Bridge. So far, the going is slow, and all the fish he's been catching are small. But if Grand Lake rises much higher, Bailey may have an opportunity to see if he can catch bigger bass on the old strip center parking lot pattern. Dave Crisenberry got a limit early flipping to the flooded willows, but he's managed to cull all those fish with bigger ones he's caught Carolina rigging in the area near Shangri-La. Richard Holmes and Lonnie Miller have also been working the Mid-Lake area, Carolina rigging on channel swings and pea gravel points. Today, they're all smiles. They both have limits, and now they're working to catch bigger fish that will put them among the Day 1 leaders. When the Pro-Am anglers return to Shangri-La for the Day 1 weigh-in, Andy Gill establishes the early amateur division standard with 15.7 pounds. But he's soon challenged by Randy Stewart.
Oh, look at here, we got a sack. We got a sack here. Here we go, folks. 16.8 pounds bucket. That's a new leader in the amateur division right now, Randy Stewart.
Big bass were biting all over Grand Lake today. And Fishin' Magazine field editor Ed Pace takes the amateur division big bass lead early with this 5.8-pounder. But his fish is soon surpassed by John Bond's 6.5-pounder. But then Darren Compton comes in with one even bigger than that, a whopping 7.45 pounds to move into second place behind Randy Stewart with 16.25 pounds. Then, amateur division rookie Lonnie Miller comes to the scales.
And that's your leader right now in the amateur division. Lonnie Miller, good job, son.
Then, just about the time everybody has conceded the day one lead to Miller, Danny Pierce brings in his catch.
24.20 pounds. Good job, sir. You're the leader right now in the amateur division.
In the pro division, John Kramer is in with the first flight and takes the early lead with a limit weighing 17.8 pounds. A short time later, Mark Weezy weighs in.
Looky here at this bunch. Another good. Oh, look at here. New leader coming up. 18.25 pounds. My goodness. That's a new leader in the pro division. Mark Weezy Jr., good job, sir.
Next is Brian Snowden.
Oh, looky here. Look at this sack of fish. Get out of the way, Mark Weezy. 18.70 pounds. That's your new leader right now in the pro division, Brian Snowden.
When the second flight arrives, Danny Barnes is one of the first to weigh in.
Oh, I guess they're biting pretty good. Look at this sack of fish. Watch out, everybody. Here we go again. 22.25 pounds. A new leader in the pro division, Danny Barnes. My goodness.
Then it's Dave Krisenberry's turn.
They got a whale load to take the lead in the pro division, over 22 pounds. And we got another sack right below that at 20 pounds. I saw them. They look close.
They probably won't quite touch 22.
Don't want. Oh, my guy over there says they will. He's seen more than anybody, all right? Oh, yeah, look at here at this beautiful sack of Grand Lake bass. Not going to touch 22, my man says. He's right. 20.65 pounds. That's about second place right now in the pro division.
At last, Jackie Davis comes to the scales.
Here we go. Look at here. Another 20-pound sack of fish. 20.65 pounds. Mark it.
At the end of the first day, Danny Barnes sits atop the Quantum Pro-Am scoreboard with 22.25 pounds. Dave Krisenberry and Jackie Davis are tied for second with 20.65 pounds, while Mike McClelland and Larry Wilcox are close behind in fourth and fifth place. In the rest of the top 10, Jim Akins leads the way in sixth, with Brian Snowden, Greg Ryan, Mark Weezy, and Toby Hartzell in hot pursuit. In the amateur division, Danny Pierce leads the way with a remarkable 23.95 pounds, setting a new one-day record for the amateur division. But right on his heels is Lonnie Miller with 22.8 pounds, with Randy Stewart, Matt Carroll, and Darren Compton completing the top 5. In the rest of the top 10, Andy Gill and Steve Melton head the list in 6th and 7th place respectively. Stay tuned for exciting Day 2 action. We'll helpful hints from some of Central Pro-Am's top competitors, brought to you by Daylight Donuts, the best donuts around. In 1998, Eric Holt won the Grand Pro-Am flipping a finesse worm around boat docks, a technique that proved highly successful when Holt did it his way.
Before I came over here, I started thinking normally about all I fish with is a jig when I'm flipping. We're changing up to gitsets a lot. All of us are fishing gitsets, so the fish kind of get conditioned to those baits if they see them day in and day out. So I wanted to present them something a little different, something that most of the other guys weren't going to be doing. So I switched up to a finesse worm. Mostly I used a 3/16 ounce painted weight, and sometimes I switched to a quarter, but mostly a 3/16. If you see a finesse bait in the water and you experiment with colors and try to get the perfect color, and then you have a big silver weight sticking in front of it, it's just, you know, you're just going to catch more fish with the painted weight. The closer you can match the paint color on the weight to your bait, the better off you're going to be. I went with straight black because the water I was fishing in was pretty stained, but it seemed to make a big difference. Both of my amateurs switched over to the painted weight pretty early in the day because they weren't getting bit.
The morning of Day 2 is hazy and bright, a sure sign that today could be a scorcher. Without the cloud cover that aided the fishing for many on Day 1, today is likely to prove who really has the right stuff. First day leader Danny Barnes is out with the second flight and heads to his prime spot on a point just outside Terra Miranda. Barnes had a limit from the spot by 8:30 on Day 1, but this morning things just aren't the same. Whether it was the fishing pressure from other anglers, weekend boat traffic, the change in weather, or a combination of all three, Barnes quickly realizes he's going to need an alternate plan. Fortunately, or unfortunately, this situation is deja vu all over again for Barnes, who's been the day one leader at Grand before, only to see his chances for victory disappear the second day. Now he has difficult choices to make. Should he stay and hope these fish turn on? Should he run to other spots where he knows there are concentrations of bass? Only time will tell if he makes the right decisions. One of the anglers who worries Danny Barnes most is Jackie Davis. Davis started the day in second place, and this is a situation in which he's most dangerous. With the bass shallow and in the bushes, the flip and bite is strong on jigs and brush hogs, and that makes Davis a force to be reckoned with. That's especially true when everything seems to be going his way. Even an overhanging branch that causes Davis to backlash isn't a problem. Seconds later, he's off and running with another solid keeper. Another angler who's tough under these conditions is Jim Akins. Akins is a master jig fisherman, and the high water at Grand suits his style to a T. He had a limit on day one, but he started the day in 6th place, 3 pounds behind Barnes. So far, he's catching fish, but they'll need to be bigger than this to overtake Barnes. Finally, amateur Donnie Beeler pitches behind the boat to an area of flooded grass and hooks the kind of bass Akins needs. But the monster bass gets hung up in the brush. While Beeler holds on for dear life, Akins rushes to the trolling motor to back the boat up to where the bass is entangled. But by the time they get there, it's too late. Beeler's big bass is gone. Mark Weezy started the day in 9th place, but today he's experiencing the same difficulties as Barnes. Weezy caught his first day limit in Wolf Creek and other areas near Sailboat Bridge. But so far, he's not getting bites flipping around the flooded willows as he did the previous day. Eventually, he switches to a crankbait. The tactic worked on day one, but today, it's no-go. With neither of his patterns producing, Weezy is going to have to hustle to stay in the running. Greg Ryan isn't having that problem. He's catching bass out of flooded bushes along the riprap at Sailboat Bridge. So far, the fish he's catching aren't big, but if he can keep this up and Barnes continues to struggle, Ryan's putting himself in position to win his first Central Pro-Am title. Mike McClellan found a good concentration of fish while fishing with his small son in practice, and so far they've held up for 2 days. He's catching some, flipping to the bushes like many of the other Pro-Am anglers. But he's also caught solid keepers fishing crankbaits around the willows near deeper water. If he can come in with another good limit today, he has a chance to take home all the marbles. Meanwhile, Jackie Davis continues to catch fish, and Danny Barnes can hear him coming. Soon, Davis is culling, but he's yet to land a kicker fish, and he knows he needs a good one to give him a shot at overtaking Barnes. When the Pro-Am anglers return to Shangri-La for the final weigh-in, amateur division leader Danny Pierce is in early. His pro partner had outboard motor problems during the day, and Pierce comes in with only 1 bass to bring his 2-day total to 26.7 pounds. He's soon challenged by Ken Sullivan.
28.10 pounds, a new leader in the amateur division.
Finally, it's all up to Lonnie Miller.
Ken Sullivan may go back to being a bridesmaid instead of the bride again, because this kid only needs a little over 6 pounds to take the lead. It's gone, he says. Get ready out here. Here we go. There it is, folks. There it is. We're going to set some records with this stringer. We're going to set some records, I guarantee you. 12.35 pounds. Get a couple of those good fish out of there. 35.15 pounds. That's your leader right now in the amateur division, Lonnie Miller from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma.
In the pro division, first day leader Danny Barnes is in early.
What do you think they're going to weigh?
I think around 15 pounds.
Our camera boats left you. You only had 3 about an hour or so ago, didn't you?
No, I got my limit about 2 o'clock.
About 2 o'clock. Here we go with the weight. 15 pounds. You're a little light there, son. 17.35 pounds. Boy, and I'm going to tell you something. He has got a sack of fish, and they got to hunt him down to win this one right now. Because here's your leader, ladies and gentlemen, Danny Barnes, 39.60 pounds.
Soon, the challengers begin to arrive. Greg Ryan is the first.
How many we got?
5.
We have the limit for Greg Ryan from Nixon, Missouri, 18.05 pounds yesterday. They got away an impressive amount to take the lead. They got to get way on up there towards that 20 pounds. Not going to do it. 15.80 pounds. That's going to be second place right now in the Pro Division.
Then it's Richard Holmes.
You got 17 or 18 pounds right now. That's going to get you high in the money then. If you got, if you get 24, 25 pounds, you win the tournament. Look at here, over 20 pounds again, 20.25 pounds. Richard Holmes, Bedrock, Quality Marine Products. Good job, buddy.
Other Pro-Am anglers have come through with great second-day catches. On day one, Harold Lawrence didn't have a keeper. Today, he has nearly 19 pounds. Troy Aikens had only 4 small keepers the first day, but today he's got a limit that weighs nearly 20 pounds. Jim Davidson has a limit that tops 21 pounds, and so does Scott Boaz. But the Central Pro-Am Arnold Palmer Second-Day Charge Award goes to Dennis Toon.
23.05 pounds. Get some of those quality fish out of there, Dennis. 29.35 pounds. 23 of it today in those 5 fish. Man, I got to know. We'll get those real quick into the Ulrich Marine Center catch and release boat. What in the world did you catch those bass on today?
Just a lizard.
A lizard, and how were you fishing it?
I was Carolina rigging as close to bushes as I could get.
Close to bushes as you can get. How many Carolina rigs did you go through today?
About 4 packs of lizards. I actually culled 3 4-pounders.
Culled 3 4-pounders. Now, that's a day to remember.
Finally, it's all up to Jackie Davis.
Where's Danny Barnes at? See if he can start getting worried. This is a man right here that can get on by him right here. He had 20.65 pounds yesterday. Jackie Davis from Willard, Missouri. Have you got the limit?
Yes, I do.
Do you have the kicker fish?
4-pounders as big as I got.
4-pounders as big as I got. How many 4-pounders?
Just one.
Just one. 4, 5 3s. Oh, it's going to be close. It is going to be very close right here. Here we go. Here it is. Here we go. 17.85 pounds.
It's official now. Danny Barnes wins his first Central Pro-Am title with a 2-day total of 39.6 pounds, edging out runner-up Jackie Davis by just over a pound, with Mike McClelland, John Kramer, and Dave Crisenberry rounding out the top 5. In the rest of the top 10, Richard Holmes leads the way in 6th place with 34.55 pounds, with Greg Ryan, Jim Summerall, Jim Akins, and Tim Sonato close behind. In the amateur division, Lonnie Miller shatters the old tournament record by nearly 2 pounds, with a 2-day total of 35.15 pounds. It's close from there on, however, as Ken Sullivan, Danny Pierce, Matt Carroll, and Mike Smith complete the top 5. In the rest of the top 10, it's tight all the way, as barely over a pound separates Brian Herndon in 6th place from Randy Stewart in 10th. Stay tuned for tournament winning tips from Danny Barnes. Techniques you can use to catch more fish. Brought to you by Ranger Boats, where they still build them one at a time.
We had conditions similar to this about 2 years ago, and everybody pretty much thought the fish would be in the willows because there was a lot of water. And on past experience here, these fish tend to go ahead and do their summer pattern even if the water is up. So I went and checked Carolina rig spots and drops and points that are normally a good summer spot. And it happened to be, there was fish there. The only 2 things that I think were keyed for me, I had to have, it was a real rocky bank. It had to have it was hard, almost impossible to get a Carolina rig through the banks I was fishing. The rocks were big rocks. You got hung up a lot, but when you get hung up and you'd pull it off the rock, that's when they would hit it. It seemed like when the bait would come off the rock with a fast motion and stop, that's when they would hit the bait. The bait I was using was a Zoom brush hog, and I was dipping the tail, and it's got 2 little flaps on the sides of it. I was dipping a lot of people were just dipping the tails on them. I was giving them a whole lot of chartreuse. I was dipping about half the bait in chartreuse dipping dye. The only other secret that I might have had that was a key, I used H&H plastic rattle in front of my Carolina weight to make more noise in this colored water, and it seemed, I think it made a difference. I know there was a good crankbait bite going on, and I tried a crankbait and a jig some. I caught a couple small fish on the crankbait, but it wasn't something I had a lot of confidence in, so I didn't stay with it very long. Every time I'd find myself trying something different, I'd just say, now, wait a minute, I had 22 pounds on this yesterday, let's go back to what we did best.
Hey, thanks for spending time with us this weekend on the Fishing Magazine television series. And I hope you'll schedule some time to visit with us again next week. Until then, take care and good fishing.
The Fishin' Magazine television series is brought to you by Ranger Boats, still building them one at a time so you can fish hard, run strong, and rest easy. Bass Pro Shops, Quantum and Motor Guide, the choice of serious fishermen. L&L Marine.
Actually, I have a